If you have your ovaries removed, you can't have children, right? I don't need you anymore, so can you divorce me? The paper Matt thrust in front of me was a divorce form. Wait, what are you talking about? I won't forgive you if you're joking in this situation. A few days ago, I was rushed to the hospital with sudden abdominal pain. The tests showed a possibility of ovarian cancer, and I was admitted for surgery the next day. This is no joke. I've been putting up with this until now. No, living with my in-laws and their mistreatment. I was the one who had been enduring. Yet, why am I the one being presented with a divorce form? Especially when I'm about to have surgery tomorrow. Anger, sadness, despair. My emotions were a mess, and I covered my face. Then, to add insult to injury, I heard my in-laws' voices. A useless woman who can't bear children should quietly step aside. Clinging to a younger husband at your age is disgraceful. These 3 years have been a waste for Matt. Please disappear from our sight soon. Their words tore my heart to shreds. I bit my lip to stop myself from crying and, with great effort, held my shaking right hand with my left as I scribbled my name. Good, now you and I are strangers. Saying this, Matt put the divorce form in his inner pocket. As he was leaving, Matt said, "Actually, there's a nice girl at my workplace recently. She's young, cute, and healthy." I made the right choice not to inherit an ugly and old gene. I was speechless at his cruel words. I was at my lowest, but I never imagined what would happen when I met Matt again 3 years later. My name is Sarah Brown. I married Matt, who is 2 years younger than me, 2 years ago. I met Matt at work when I was 38, and after his persistent pursuit, we got married. I had given up on marriage, but there are plenty of younger women out there. I like someone independent and calm like you, Sarah. I'm 38, and I might not be able to have children. I don't want children, I just want to be with you, Sarah. No matter what I said, Matt insisted. My marriage partner can only be you, Sarah. I eventually gave in and presented him with one condition for marriage. Just promise me one thing. I'm not so desperate to have children at an older age. Let's not force ourselves to have children. Children are blessings. Matt agreed to this condition, and we got married. Matt, who had always lived at his parents' home, insisted on living there even after marriage. I'm an only child, and I think I'll have to take care of my parents eventually. So, could we live with my parents from the start? Though the thought of living with strangers at this age was daunting. He had chosen to marry me, a leftover. With that thought, I agreed to live with my in-laws, Kevin and Rachel. However, I soon realized this was a mistake. Sarah, I'll need you to do the shopping, cooking, dishwashing, taking out the trash, and cleaning the bath. With 4 adults living together, why was I the only one who had to do so much? I couldn't say it out loud, but I felt distrustful of them from the start. They seemed to think of me as a maid. Sarah, I'd like to eat steak today. Sarah, the entrance is getting dirty. Please clean it. Sarah, iron my shirts. What kind of life had the 3 of them been leading? My in-laws' house wasn't dirty. So someone must have been taking care of the household chores before I arrived. This realization made me even more upset. Moreover, my in-laws were overjoyed at their only son, Matt, getting married, expecting a grandchild soon. You're almost 40. It's time to give up and start infertility treatments. No, we're fine without children. What are you talking about? There's no point in getting married if you're not going to have children. My in-laws condemned me for choosing not to have children, as if it was unthinkable. Well, we're not young anymore, so we decided not to get too worked up about having children. Initially, Matt remembered our agreement and tried to convince his parents. However, they were quite persistent. No matter how much Matt persuaded them, in a few days, the "when will we have a grandchild" questions would start again. One day, Matt came into the room, his face red with anger. My mom said that it might be my fault and told me to get checked at the hospital. "Because you're not getting pregnant." Matt's pride as a man was hurt, and he began to take it out on me. "No, it's not my fault." Matt was just upset on his own. Of course, I didn't say it out loud, but my frustration grew day by day. "I'll prove it's your fault we can't have children. Let's go to the hospital." Finally, Matt said this. However, I had no intention of undergoing fertility treatments. So I ignored what Matt said and lied about being busy at work to escape from my in-laws' house. Mom, listen to this. The only saving grace was that my parents' house was near my office. Before going home, I would stop by my parents' house to vent my frustrations and then return home. At home, my retired parents, Henry and Diane, who were enjoying their retirement, were waiting for me. How did they feel about their daughter, who had finally married in her 40s? Suddenly venting about her in-laws and husband? At first, I felt sorry for bothering my parents. But they listened to my complaints as if they were a snack to accompany their drink. "What's wrong, Sarah?" A neighbor gave us some delicious wine. "Let's drink it together." Maybe it was because my parents took it so lightly that I could complain to them. Why does everyone have this "marriage equals children" or mindset? Plus, pregnancy and childbirth are tough on women. Yet my husband's parents have the nerve to complain. People are just set in their ways, especially as they get older. I've been told I'm quite flexible. Henry, you've just softened with age. Maybe Matt will turn out like you. Over time, our current situation will probably become a laughing matter. This way, my parents always encouraged me. Having my parents on my side made me feel supported. And I was able to continue my married life somehow. Then, one day on my way home from work, I suddenly felt a sharp pain in my lower abdomen. What is this pain? The pain was so severe that I broke out in a cold sweat and couldn't stand. So I sat down on the sidewalk. I tried to reach for my phone to call for help. But my hands were shaking so much that I couldn't find it. Fortunately, a passerby noticed me and called an ambulance. At the hospital, after various tests, I was told there might be a possibility of ovarian cancer. "Can you contact your family immediately?" I called Matt, but it was past 7 p.m., and he should have been home by then. However, he didn't answer the phone no matter how many times I called. So, I had no choice but to call my mother. "I'll come right away." "Don't worry, Sarah." My mom encouraged me, and soon she and my dad came to the hospital. As soon as I saw my parents' faces, tears started flowing. Even after turning 40, I wasn't strong enough to face cancer alone. My mother gently stroked my back, comforting me. Together with my parents, I heard about my medical condition from the doctor. "There's a high likelihood that your right ovary has cancer. We recommend the removal of both ovaries and the uterus, but..." Does that mean I won't be able to get pregnant? Yes. Were you hoping to get pregnant, Ms. Brown? That is. I faltered. At 41, I honestly didn't desperately want children. But given how much my in-laws and Matt had been pressuring me for a child, I felt a moment's resistance to making myself unable to bear children. If I wanted to get pregnant, are there other treatments available? I asked timidly. "You must think of your body first." My parents looked worried. The doctor looked at me intently and said quietly, "There are methods, but whether they are applicable to you requires further testing." My parents were probably surprised that I was concerned about pregnancy. So was I. I couldn't articulate my feelings well. But the thought of having my ovaries and uterus completely removed, having never had children, left me feeling indescribably empty. Maybe if I don't give up and try hard, Matt, Kevin, and Rachel might reconsider their view of me. That thought crossed my mind. I can't give up on pregnancy completely. Can we opt to keep one ovary? The doctor looked into my eyes and nodded. I understand how you feel, Ms. Brown. However, depending on the progress, a total removal might still be necessary. Following the discussion with the doctor, it was decided that I would undergo surgery to remove my diseased right ovary in 5 days. If the cancer is confined to the right ovary, we would observe and possibly use chemotherapy. If there's any spread, please give up on the idea of pregnancy. I nodded firmly. Thankfully, my parents quietly supported my decision and stayed by my side. My mother visited me daily in the hospital, showing concern for my low spirits. Have you heard from Matt? No. He won't answer his phone. And he hasn't responded to my emails about being hospitalized. I don't understand what's going on with Matt. My parents were silent, apparently not having realized the extent to which my relationship with my spouse had deteriorated. He must be busy. Don't worry about anything, like laundry. Henry and I have plenty of time. Oh. I'll buy your favorite pears later. My mother tried to keep the mood light to prevent me from feeling down. Their warmth was deeply felt. I have to do my best in the surgery for my parents. Just as I had this thought, Matt and my in-laws barged into my hospital room the day before the surgery. I glared at the three of them. Why are you ignoring my calls and emails? Matt responded with a nonchalant grin. Seems like you've been through a lot. Well done. Expecting an apology for not contacting me, I was speechless. How could he speak as if it were someone else's problem that his wife was undergoing surgery? My anger bubbled up, and I glared at them even more fiercely. Seeing my reaction, they whispered among themselves and then looked at me with smirks. Leave. I don't want to see your faces. Unable to hold back, I yelled at them, forgetting I was in a hospital. Then, Matt walked up to me and presented a piece of paper. If you have your ovaries removed, you can't have children, right? I don't need you anymore, so can you divorce me? The paper Matt thrust in front of me was a divorce form. Wait, what are you talking about? I won't forgive you if you're joking in this situation. This is no joke. I've been putting up with this until now. No, it was me who had been enduring all this time. Why do I have to be the one presented with a divorce form? Especially when I am about to have surgery tomorrow? Anger, sadness, despair. My emotions are a mess, and I cover my face. Then, as if to add insult to injury, I hear my in-laws' voices. A useless woman who can't bear children should quietly step aside. Clinging to a younger husband at your age is disgraceful. These 3 years have been a waste for Matt. Please disappear from our sight soon. Their words tear my heart to shreds. The fact that I chose treatment to retain the possibility of pregnancy. Thinking of the 3 of them now seems foolish. What is this treatment? I'm stunned when Matt places the divorce form and a pen on the bedside table. All you have to do is sign your name, and it's done. I'll go file it, so you should at least be grateful. Saying this, Matt forces a pen into my right hand. I'm not opposed to divorcing, per se. In fact, living with my in-laws and being subjected to their sarcasm until we have a child feels unbearable. But, I endured their tyranny for these 3 years. I endured it because we were family. They must have seen me as nothing more than a childbearing machine. My resentment towards the 3 of them, who wouldn't even offer me a shred of support as I faced surgery for cancer, was profound. I bite my lip to hold back tears and, with great effort, steady my trembling right hand with my left to scribble my name. Good, now you and I are complete strangers. Saying this, Matt puts the divorce form in his inner pocket. The three of them, looking satisfied, leave the hospital room. At the last moment, Matt turns back to say, "Actually, there's a nice girl at my workplace recently. She's young, cute, and healthy. She has nothing in common with you." I made the right choice not to inherit an ugly and old gene. As I glare at Matt, he mockingly says, "Glad to be divorced from the old hag," and leaves. In the now quiet hospital room, only the sound of my sniffles can be heard. Matt and the others have pushed me, already crushed by illness and uncertainty, even deeper into despair. I bury my face in the pillow and cry loudly. After some time, I hear a knock at the door and hastily cover my face with the blanket, pretending to be asleep. "Sarah, you're asleep, huh? I've peeled some pears for you to eat later." The voice belongs to my mother, who always enters the room without knocking. She quietly comes in and places a container of pears on the table. "I'll move all your stuff to our house today. After you're discharged, maybe you can help with the laundry. Oh, and your father has started cooking. Look forward to his cooking. I'll come again tomorrow morning." My mother gently strokes my head, which was sticking out from the blanket, and then leaves the room. She seemed to know everything without me saying a word. Maybe she overheard the divorce conversation with Matt and the others outside the room. Feeling my mother's endless kindness and warmth, I cry again. After crying and feeling a bit better, I lift my face. The pears in the container are cut into bite-sized pieces for easy eating. "Mom, thank you." As I enjoy the juicy pears, images of my parents' smiling faces come to mind. I must get better soon and repay my parents. I decide to focus on my treatment with the goal of easing my parents' worries. The next day, I undergo surgery to remove my right ovary. The right ovary was indeed cancerous, but fortunately, the left ovary was normal. I am to undergo chemotherapy to target any unseen cancer cells. The first round of chemotherapy was tough due to side effects and not being a good match for the medication. I couldn't eat, and I could see myself losing hair and becoming increasingly frail. However, my parents always encouraged me by my side. "Last night, I saw your favorite meteor shower. I found 5 shooting stars and made wishes on them, so you're definitely going to get better." The fact that my father, who supposedly had no interest in meteor showers, stayed up late to watch the sky made me feel his love and the warmth of family anew. Thanks to them, I was able to maintain a strong will to fight for them. After 6 months in the hospital, I switched to outpatient treatment. If no one uses it, it quickly gathers dust. It's a relief that Sarah is coming back to help. My parents didn't ask about the divorce. They naturally took me back to our family home as if it was the most normal thing in the world. I couldn't immediately return to society, so I spent some time recuperating at home. Supported by my parents, I gradually began to regain my former self. Then, as the second year after my surgery dawned, I had always spent Christmas holidays doing nothing until my illness. But having experienced cancer, I made sure to lead a healthy, regular life at all times. That was a good workout. As usual, after finishing my morning walk and about to enter the house, the mailman arrived and handed me the Christmas cards. Flipping through them, I saw one with a baby's photo. The card was addressed to Matt. While I was battling my illness, Matt, who had left me, seemed to have found happiness on his own and even fulfilled his parents' wish by having a child. What did he want by letting me know this fact? Seeing the Christmas card didn't make me feel good, but Matt was already a stranger to me. There's no need to waste my nerves on a stranger. I decided to move on. Also, if my parents found this card, it would undoubtedly upset them. Thinking this, as soon as I entered the house, I tore up the Christmas card and threw it in the trash, making sure my parents would never know. After the new year, I made my return to society. Since my family home was only 2 stations away from the company, I could commute to work without overexerting myself. How was the healthy lunchbox? It was delicious, thank you as always. Every day, my father prepared a nutritionally balanced lunchbox for me, going to work. My father, who never cooked when I lived at home, making lunchboxes. I was deeply moved. Dad, you're really good at cooking. Could you always cook? Whispering to my mother, she shook her head. Henry got all excited, saying, I'll make Sarah's lunchbox. He has significantly improved his cooking skills over the past few months. Seeing my father humming while packing the lunchbox, I could tell he was genuinely happy that I was in good spirits. No matter how old their children get, parents give their unconditional love in this way. I wished to become a parent who could give unconditional love like my dad and mom. I found myself smiling vaguely at the thought. Having only one ovary left, unfortunately, it wasn't necessary for me, a single woman. But I have to stay healthy for my parents. And one day, I'll definitely repay them. That was what I firmly decided. Since then, I had been living healthy and tranquil days, but one day, Matt and my in-laws suddenly appeared in front of me. They were waiting for me to return from work in front of my parents' house. Sarah. When Matt spotted me, he murmured my name. And the 3 of them knelt down without regard for the eyes around them. I was wrong, please let's start over. What is he saying now? Especially since Matt already has a child. Furious at the irresponsible Matt and my in-laws, who followed him and kneeled down together like they were nothing more than hangers-on. As I glared at them in silence, Matt began to speak bit by bit. I was deceived. According to Matt, he married the young woman from his workplace immediately after our divorce because she was already pregnant. I was furious to learn he had been unfaithful while we were still married, even though it was too late. Following the birth of their son, as shown in the Christmas card, he believed he was leading a blissful life. However, it turned out his current wife had another man on the side, discovered when Matt, suspicious of her always stepping outside to take calls and never leaving her smartphone unattended, resolutely hired a detective. Shockingly, the son he believed was his turned out to be the child of his wife's affair. When confronted, his wife admitted to the affair and the child's paternity nonchalantly. She then brazenly said, "Of course, I prefer my boyfriend's genes over those of an ugly old man like you." Sounds like a familiar line. Hearing this, Matt hung his head. "I'm truly sorry. I finally understand how much wrong we did to you." Following Matt, his parents also apologized. "I won't say anything about children anymore, so can you come back and live with me?" As you can see, my parents are also regretful. What audacious people they are. After all they've done, I couldn't fathom the nerve of these 3 showing up in front of me. And I had no intention of engaging in conversation. Just then, my parents and a man emerged from the house. Having heard the commotion at the entrance. "Guests? What are you people doing here?" My mother, seeing Matt and his parents kneeling in front of me, screamed in disbelief. The man behind my parents was initially surprised by my mother's reaction. But then, realizing the situation, quickly came to my side. "Please stay away from my wife." He stood in front of Matt and his parents, protecting me. Matt and his parents were dumbfounded. "Your wife? What do you mean, Sarah? This has to be a joke." Why would he think it's a joke? I seized the moment to counter. "Sorry, but I married him." Thanks to you initiating the divorce that time. I found someone who loves me for who I am, not just as a childbearing machine. I tightly clasped the arm of the man beside me, showing him off to Matt and his parents. He was a colleague from work who had taken over my duties while I was off, and after returning, he helped ensure I didn't overexert myself. Gradually, the time I spent with him grew longer. Being with Sarah, I've learned to appreciate the small joys in life. Please marry me. He had proposed, accepting me completely, and we registered our marriage 6 months ago. Wait, is that a maternity mark on your bag? That's when my mother-in-law noticed the maternity mark on my bag and screamed. Matt, seeing the maternity mark, furrowed his brows and glared at me intensely. You said you were getting your ovaries removed. Did you lie to me? Lying is the lowest of the low. Enjoying playing the tragic heroine, are you? As before, my in-laws joined in complaining. You're the ones who unilaterally pushed for divorce without listening to me. You wanted children so badly. Yet you wouldn't even listen when I chose to keep one ovary in the slight chance that I could get pregnant, would you? Recalling the situation, I was boiling with anger. Sensing my fury, my husband soothed my back to calm me. My wife has endured harsh chemotherapy and is still fighting hard with her remaining ovary. Please stay away from my precious wife. If you break this promise, we will take legal action. Matt and his parents, intimidated by his authority, backed off without a word. Came here thinking of taking care of you as a maid in our house. Since you're single, well, struggle with high-risk pregnancy if you want. Matt left with his parents in defeat. My parents rushed to me. Sarah, are you okay? Really? If they show up again, I won't let them off. Seeing the pain I went through, my parents' faces were filled with anger. I will always protect Sarah. Please don't worry, Diane and Henry. His strong words finally eased me and my parents. Later, my mother heard from somewhere that Matt had forced his new wife to live with his parents just like me. Listening to Matt's story, one might think they were splendidly deceived by the new wife. But that wasn't entirely true. They had disregarded me because I couldn't get pregnant, assuming the new pregnant wife would be treated kindly. However, that wasn't the case at all. They didn't care for her well-being, made her do housework, and even carry heavy things without concern. Neighbors who saw her struggling with groceries for 4, despite her pregnant belly, were so worried they helped her carry her bags. Of course, the woman who had an affair with Matt before our marriage, deceiving him and his parents by having another man's child, was also in the wrong. However, no one could sympathize with Matt and his parents, who had exploited her to the extent that she felt no guilt. Matt and his parents, who twice made their spouses live with them, treating them like maids and then divorcing them shortly after. Bad rumors about them spread in the neighborhood, and nobody wanted to associate with Matt's family anymore. Despite this, they seemed to be desperately searching for another bride. But as soon as Matt brought a woman home, the neighbors would quickly inform her about these rumors. Thanks to that, there were no more victims of Matt and his parents. And the 3 of them are currently living a meager existence, subjected to odd looks from the neighborhood. Was their house a mess before Sarah married into it? No, it was kept reasonably clean. I think Rachel must have been managing the household chores properly when there was no daughter-in-law. I see. My mother nodded in understanding. Recently, Rachel has been unwell, probably due to her age. It seems Matt has been taking care of Rachel while working, but with just the 2 men. They're struggling to maintain the house, which has started to deteriorate recently. They brought it upon themselves. They have no choice but to manage as the blood-related family of 3. They need to reflect deeply on how they have mistreated their marital partners in the past. Mom, I'm home. Just then, my daughter and husband returned. Emma. We've been waiting. Let's play with Grandma. Upon seeing her mother, my daughter rushed into her arms with the brightest smile. She turned 2 this year. When my daughter was born, both my husband and parents cried and thanked me. There was a time when I wondered why I chose to undergo treatment to save one ovary. And I felt truly sorry for my parents who silently supported my decision. But now, I have no regrets at all. Because I've been able to have such a wonderful family. After giving birth, our family of 3 started living in an apartment close to my parents' house. My parents would come over under various pretenses like, I made too much food. Or, I got vegetables from a friend. I've resigned myself to the fact that at this age, having another child is out of the question. But I'm grateful that my daughter doesn't feel lonely even without siblings. As my parents play with her. Grandma, you're eating with us, right? Is that okay, Sarah? Of course. Call Dad too. Thank you. There were pears in the fridge, so I'll have your dad bring them over. Warm and ordinary conversations filled the room. Despite experiencing bullying, divorce, and illness. I'm living happy days thanks to my parents and my current husband. And my daughter, who came to me when I had almost given up on being a mother to give. Unconditional love like my parents has made my life shine even brighter. Mom, this is for you. My daughter placed an acorn she had picked up at the park into my palm. Wow, thank you. I'll treasure it. I hugged my daughter tightly. Together with my family. I want to cherish these small moments of happiness and continue living a life full of love.